Hey guys, welcome to Finally Clicked, the podcast where we discuss business, leadership, and personal development. My name is Margaret Smith, and I'm the Director of Operations for Pickett Street Properties, a real estate team out of Bothell, Washington. And I'll be here every week with our owner and team leader, Jesse D. Moore. We'll be digging into concepts and ideas that have helped us both personally and professionally. And you'll also get a chance to hear from local and national experts that we know provide massive value to get to the point where it all finally clicks. Hey, you filthy animals. Welcome to Finally Clicked with Margaret Smith.
And Jesse Moore. Sorry, I didn't know I was going to have to say my own name. Well, I was looking for the quote. The filthy animals is a Home Alone thing, huh?
Yeah.
See how I put that together?
That was good. That was quick.
Yeah, we're on our toes today, everybody.
Aren't we always?
When this podcast comes out, it'll be 5 days to Christmas.
5 days.
And so we thought we would do 5 Christmas questions.
Yeah.
As delivered by our listening public.
Yep. I'm excited.
Questions we've received.
Mm-hmm.
As talking points. Things to discuss.
Things people want to know.
You know, it's our opinions. Opinions are desired. Our knowledge is coveted.
Coveted.
And we're going to lay out some answers that are going to cover you like a warm blanket on these Christmas nights.
That's lovely.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Just imagine me spread over you, insulating you from the night's chills.
And if you all can imagine Jesse sitting here at the podcast table in his sunglasses, because that is how he decided he was going to record today.
I'm trying to switch things up a little bit. I'm trying to find the right, persona for this.
Was there a certain persona?
Well, I mean, last time I was the whiskey drinking Jesse. Today, I'm like the, limo driver Jesse, who wears sunglasses even at night.
Limo driver Jesse.
Yeah.
Wow. I
And so far, it's really working for me. I
feel really good about this. Yeah.
I am sensitive to light. I have a light sensitivity thing, and so my thing might just be wearing sunglasses.
Do you actually have a light sensitivity?
I
do remember
we've
you saying
talked
that
about
before.
this. Perception is truth. Correct? Yes, I have a light sense. Everything in my body says, turn that light off. Then I have to think I have a light sensitivity.
I do think people find it interesting that when they come into our offices, none of our overhead lights are on.
None of them.
Yeah.
0.
And I like it. The only time it gets hard is when I need like an extra light because it gets super dark out in the winter.
And to be clear, it's not like there's no light in our offices.
No, we live by the light of our computers.
We have Edison lights hanging up in our office that offer a nice ambient glow instead of a harsh,
warm, welcoming hello.
Interrogative glare.
Yeah, I agree.
Even this podcast room has glaring lights that I'm like, as soon as I walked in, I was like, do these need to be on?
I know. I mean, we could turn them off. Let me see.
That's how accommodating. Well, now wearing sunglasses feels really ridiculous because it's a dark room. No, let's keep them on. Dark. Keep them on so I can keep my sunglass look going.
Okay, cool.
I'm actually just making everybody desire this being on YouTube. Right?
Well, Jen Grawl, specifically one of my good friends who now lives in Montana, desperately needs it to be on YouTube because she says she's a very visual person, and I know this about her. She wants to watch us as we talk. She can't hear us. She can't just listen for an hour. So I do understand that.
That's what I need. I need to worry about people looking at me on and not just hearing my...
They'd probably even find us twice as funny. To watch us while we talk. Yeah. But that is not as of yet.
Hey, that's not a 2018 thing. That's a 2019 thing. Us being on YouTube with this.
I was like, 2019 is like almost here.
Yeah. So, all right, 5 questions of Christmas for us. Mm-hmm. And Margaret wanted me to just pick some and throw them out there.
Yeah. I don't know which one you're going to start with. And just so you guys know, this is from the post that I put on Facebook where I asked for topics and what you were interested in. So I do pay attention when you post things.
All right, why don't you start off by reading Julian's question.
All right, our friend Julian Travis out of Marysville, Washington, how do you deal with people leaving your organization? And then I said, Julian, in what way? Emotionally, physically, like with their tasks and jobs? And he said, all of the above. I think something I've learned a lot from Jesse and Anton, respectively, is the power of both retention and turnover, the balance between finding and keeping talent, but also recognizing people and organizations move on and grow. Sometimes the greatest teachers are the relationships we fail at or lose, and that's not a bad thing either. I'm kind of in love with turnover simply because it allows us to life hack how to find the right who, slow to hire, quick to fire.
So, once again, what's the primary question?
How do you deal with people leaving your organization?
All right, that's the Ariana Grande answer, which is, yeah, thanks, peace out, I appreciate it. You know, when we had such great retention when we first started, and I've learned a lot in thinking about that over the years, because I've seen that actually to be true most of the time. Not to the same degree that we had it, but when you are building a business and you use your natural momentum to base your decisions on, as far as when to hire and who to hire and everything else, there's just a natural progression there that kind of creates almost a centrifugal force. You know how you have a bucket full of water and you spin it around your head and the water stays in the bucket as long as you don't lose speed or momentum?
Yeah.
Hiring people's like that when you're building a business, because you have speed and momentum and it's exciting and it's new and it's fresh and
everybody wants to be a part of it.
Yeah, it's kind of just easy to create a place that people want to stay in.
Yeah, true.
And then you hit a speed bump, or then you.
Well, it's kind of like hitting a doubt or a failure, right? And you realize real quick who's going to stick with it and who's not, and you find out. Because I agree with you, absolutely. It's a great example visually. Because when everything was going so well and we were hopping and things were growing and quickly, people could hop on the bus and they started to work. You know, everybody starts out really well, and then you find out along the way who's not so good of a fit.
Yeah, I mean, over time, that's when things happen. Things in your personal life happen. Things in the economy happen. Things in the market happen. And so, you know, for a period of time, we were known for our longevity of our team members. And right now, I still think we should be seen that way. You've been with Pickett Street for over 6 years. Sarah's been with Pickett Street
for 4.
4.
And Nicole's almost 2.
I've been here
since 2006. 13 years. Yeah.
So, anyway, but my point is now, so when people did leave, it hurt. It stung. And it was no fun. And then the more hiring you do, and the more firing you do, and the more hiring you do, and the more people leave or just, quit, you get used to it to some degree. And
I think used to it emotionally. Yeah, it becomes less of it. You take it less personally. You understand that it's just a time in their life where our lives don't intermingle there. Some people are meant to stay for longer than others. I especially I never thought I would get comfortable with it. And it's not super comfortable for me, but it's more comfortable because I was the person who was asking people in previous jobs, like, how do you let people go? I have a really hard time letting people go. And this is helping me to do that because I understand that it doesn't serve us and it doesn't serve them to stay. So emotionally, I feel like we've both gotten better at that. Professionally, I would say, Julian, like, you have systems and processes in place so that if someone were to leave, their job could be easily picked up by someone else. And so that is what you do from an organizational standpoint.
Yeah, if you don't have a bench, someone leaving you can disrupt everything.
Absolutely.
But if you have a bench and you have some indication of somebody that might be the next in line, then you're pretty good.
You're better off, yeah. I do have to say, like, having our whole sales team leave about 2 years ago now, I've never learned more in my entire life, and my entire career, sure.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for it. I think we have to go through those things. They always say that in books. You have to go through things to make it to where you are now. And I was always like, oh, whatever. Can't we just skip that part? And do we really have to? Because I loved all the people we had in place. I truly did. I've loved everyone who's spent any moment on Pickett Street. Will always have a good place in my heart. And those things that I learned, and then having to start from the ground back up again with hiring and thinking about how we want to build with new people, different mindsets and different skills is really cool.
Well, I think there's another part to this that I think about a lot that maybe not everyone thinks about. And that is, I have a pretty strong sense of responsibility for people. Mm-hmm. So if I hire somebody and I take them out of a, viable job, mm-hmm. with a viable paycheck and everything mm-hmm. else, I don't take that lightly. Mm-hmm. And so I keep people as long as I can. I give them every shot that I can. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, the flip side of that is that me not letting someone go who needs to go?
Yeah.
I'm actually withholding them from next opportunity in life.
Yeah, totally.
And that responsibility means something to me too. Mm-hmm. Like if they're not loving working with us, they don't love what they do. I don't want them to be miserable. I don't want them to not enjoy getting up. Mm-hmm. We do so much on the personal development side that there's no way we could ignore that.
No.
So yeah, we've gone from like crying and weeping and gnashing of teeth to thank you, next.
Yeah, and the last thing I would say, just thinking about it from a general industry standpoint, is I do feel that most teams, and speaking to every team, but a lot of teams in real estate across the nation do not hire properly. They go through people way too fast. So when we're talking about the balance here, remember that we're keeping people from between 2 to 4 to 6 years. Other teams are burning through people because they're not prepared. I don't like that. So I'm not saying that that's okay, Julian, in terms of turnover. I don't want people, this is not a rotating door. If you're coming in, you've been selected, we expect you to stay for a while. And things happen in life, yes, but we are not a revolving door. And that's what a lot of teams do, and they end up burning people on the idea of the team. So I don't approve of that. Crumpling it up. Next. ASMR.
All right.
That was
Next
a good question. Good one.
How to make time to sharpen our skills.
This was from our friend Sobia Chaudhry, right out of here in Kirkland, Washington, right next door to us.
And so you said, create more time to sharpen our skills. What do you mean exactly? More time to go to classes. She responded, yes. How to prioritize, how to find what exactly is missing and needs to be done. This is interesting to me because I don't know if you remember, Margaret, but when you first joined me, it was like a boot camp in prioritization.
Oh, yeah.
Like it was super
freak. Annoying. Yeah.
I was a prioritization freak.
Well, and I love to prioritize, so it wasn't that I wasn't good at it, but I didn't know how to prioritize like you needed to, or you wanted me to for the business. So it was learning how you think.
Well, yeah, and so it was really important to me that you knew how to prioritize things without consulting me.
Yep.
Or getting you to the place where you didn't have to consult with me. Mm-hmm. Because if I have to tell you not only what to do, but in what order to do it,
sure.
I'm not getting a lot of help.
Yeah.
And
so, not leverage.
So going back to this question, how to make time to sharpen our skills or how to prioritize to find what exactly is missing needs to be done. I'm trying to think of some hacks here. Prioritization comes so easily to me because I'm so intentional.
Well, let's go back to the beginning. What did you have me do to help learn to prioritize like you?
Well, I think I know what. You had it on you had a Post-it note. Mm-hmm. Do you remember this?
I do, very well. I use it with Sarah now.
And on the Post-it note, you wrote $. Mm-hmm. And
you're thinking of that actually.
Remember that one?
Oh, I talk about that in my class. So we talked about my 3 big rocks for the day. I would write them on the Post-it, what I thought was supposed to get done that day. And I would put it on my door, and then you could come by and cross things off the list if there was something else that was more important in that moment. And it didn't include reactive things like the listing presentations or whatever came up. But in my class, I talk about this is how I prioritize. I put money at the top, which means any checks that need to be deposited or taken care of or bills that need to be paid right away. And then after money, it was Jesse and then the business. And so meaning after I made sure there weren't any issues with anything needed to be done around money, I would go to Jesse, make sure there wasn't anything that needed to be done for him, either with the business or otherwise, and then the business meant everything else.
Yeah, and I want to clarify, the money thing isn't a matter of prioritizing bills to be paid.
No.
It is a priority of getting money
in the bank.
In the bank.
Yep.
So if we have checks, I don't want them in the file folder. I want them in the bank account.
If they're even in the, I don't even know if there was a file folder for, that seems weird. File folder for money. Like, I think a lot of where Sobia's questions are coming from is the fact that she is not leveraged at all yet. So Sobia, if I had one suggestion for you, it would be get a TC. And I know you're talking to Christina Jaggles right now. Go ahead and hire her as your TC. Like, if you are doing as many deals as I know you're doing a year on your own, you may not have time to really even think about what's the right thing to do on a certain day.
Well, not only that, but exhaustion and fatigue actually diminish our ability to prioritize.
Good point.
So if you are feeling like you have a lack of ability to prioritize, it's likely that you're doing too many things. And really, to me, you might want to go back and listen to our Stop Doing List episode. You might want to create a Stop Doing List. You might want to focus on, do a little exercise that separates the 80% of the things that you do that generate 20% of your results, and from the 20% of the things that you do that represent 80% of your results. And, just categorizing things that way will make it easy for you to prioritize. And then once that list is made, now you have your job description for your next hire. So I'd highly recommend doing that. Making sure that you are aware of what activities are yielding you the most results. And then
stick to it.
Stick to that. And then once you get those activities isolated, now start to rank those in order of priority from highest to least.
I mean, when I think about it on a daily basis now, I think about our big goals and goals that we've talked about for 2019. One of those is hiring. If a class comes up that's about hiring, like career visioning or something within Keller Williams or outside of Keller Williams, that could be an example of a class that I would take time for or make a priority. If it aligns with a goal that's in the top 20% of what you need to be doing on a daily basis, you just do it. You make time for it. And as you shift and as you prioritize, things fall off because they're not as important. And what I've realized from talking to people, because of this podcast, it started a lot of interesting conversations. People are ignoring what they need to do because it's boring, or it's repetitive, or it's whatever. They're just there's no excuse. It's just the fact that people don't want to sit down and do the hard thing.
Yeah, and I think we're reading this book, Atomic Habits, and we read a great chapter this past week about the 2-minute rule, which is basically, I mean, there's different ways to employ it, but one of the ways I think of in doing it is like you're talking about, doing something just right away. Just
right away.
Do it,
even think about
get it done.
Yeah.
Because
get done with it.
There's an erosion mentally. I think there's an erosion to resistance.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is that if you have a buildup of resistance in your brain, meaning I don't want to do anything, I don't want to do these things, I don't want to be at work, I want to do something else, I'm lazy and I'm tired.
Yeah.
Then you can begin the erosion of that mindset by just doing one activity that's a priority, by doing one thing. And that creates an avalanche of other activities. And then you look up at the end of the day and you've accomplished some things. But you have to set yourself, you have to find some way to hack your brain to start the momentum.
Yes.
And so one of the ways you could do that is set a timer on your phone for 2 minutes and say, okay, I got to do this, and start it within the next 2 minutes, as an example.
Yeah, and I think in the book they talked about how, as an example, not only 2 minutes until you start the activity, but only allow yourself to do it for 2 minutes.
Right. Then that's another...
Like, that was interesting.
So if you do say, hey, you know what, I don't feel good, you have all these excuses, fine. Well, do you have 4 minutes? Do you have 2 minutes to begin the activity and then 2 minutes to get it done?
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, I have a sense of accomplishment.
Yep.
That wasn't so hard.
I did something. Yeah.
God, we sound so infantile sometimes.
Well.
In how we approach the basic things we have to do every day.
The things that are wired into our brain. But it's true. I mean, it's about self-discipline. And you will not be successful if you don't have self-discipline, but you don't need to take on the whole chunk of the new habit right away. Put on your running shoes, he talks about. Put on your running shoes and just walk to the door or walk around the block, and that'll be the beginning of you starting to run. So, yeah.
All right.
Good question.
Those are our tips for how to create time to sharpen your skills.
Good one, Sylvia.
Thank you. Next. All right, on to the next one.
Next.
Jared Burton asks.
Oh, Jared!
Creating new roles for employees and all that it entails. So Jared asked, I like this. New roles for current employees? Current
Yep.
Or new employees?
Yep. Growth trajectory.
And the consensus was current. What does the growth trajectory look like? Creating new roles. Well, I think there's two obvious reasons why you would create a new role. One, you don't want to do something. Or two, you're not good at doing something. And if you have enough money to leverage that out, then it's pretty easy to create new roles. I think the role you already know what role I'm going to say is like my favorite that we created, that not every team has, is what?
Listing coordinator?
Listing coordinator.
Yeah.
So there was a time, so I had an assistant, I had a buyer's agent, we had a showing agent, and I was falling in love with leverage. I was falling in love with hiring people that made my life easier and made me more money. And I realized so all I had to do was listings, and I realized, I was like, how can I create a new role that's involved on the listing side that still allows me to do what I love to do, which is listing presentations. I was best at listing presentations. And so I created a role that allowed me to only do listing presentations. And I hired a licensed agent as an employee, not as an independent contractor, but as an employee. They did not have to secure new business. I secured new business, and when they said, yes, we want you to list our home, then the listing coordinator took over and took it from there all the way to closing. And the goal of that employee was that I never had to talk to that client again. And I loved it, man. It was the best. If I were to look back and think about the good old days, like when I first created that position, now it has tons of headaches because you have to figure out the transition method for the client so they don't feel abandoned. And they feel taken care of. And then that person, I have to train them to think like me and be as good as I am on the listing side. And then I have to train them on how to effectively communicate. And so it took time to develop. But I love that role because if I come in every day and my only job is to go on listing presentations, which I'm great at, then I'm only doing things I'm great at in the day. And I'm up, my attitude's up. I'm happy to come to work. I'm happy to go to work. I'm happy to, it's just, it was.
Now, with that listing coordinator, what would be an opportunity after that role that could be created for someone if they've been there for 2 years? Like, we've had people that have moved from that role into the buyer's agent role. Our idea has also been that they could eventually move into a listing agent role. Like, I think a lot of that comes from them identifying what they're really good at and what they love doing, and coming to their boss or their team leader with that idea of what they love doing and figuring out how that works into the business.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I might like that role more than anyone on the face of this earth, which is a problem because that means the person doing the role doesn't love it as much as I do. And that means I'm always going to have turnover in that position. And it's true. We've had very few people in that role for more than a year. Because it's a tough assignment. It's a tough job, but it's satisfying when someone does it well, and if they like it. We just haven't found the right person for, like, the endurance of the role.
Well, and I think that role, what I love about it specifically, I know why you love it. It's a great form of leverage for you. What I love about it is that it gives that position an amazing view of what it's like to be in real estate from a salaried position. And then they can choose to move. Oftentimes we hire people in that role that have some admin mentality, meaning they're at least a bit organized. They have great communication, but they have the ability to transition into an agent role. So it's a great example of how something can be created out of that. So I think the team leader and the boss has to be aware of the talent of the employee, and they have to want to keep them around and understand what that talent can do. And so there should be no ceiling. If someone loves what they do and they're at a company they love, you should want to keep that employee because they're probably
right. I can actually see why you would create roles for retention. And what I mean by that, like, Margaret, if we think about, we've talked about this before, you were at overcapacity, you needed help, and I wasn't to the place where I wanted to hire a second admin. And we brainstormed and we found that if we brought transaction coordination in-house, that would subsidize the salary of a second admin. And that's how we created a role to solve a problem. And so people are, hiring people solves problems. It should solve problems. It should make you more efficient. It should make you...
Should bring more business.
It should improve the client experience, which should bring you more business. So I'd really focus on creating new roles if you want to make more money and if you want to change, not necessarily work less, but change what you work on.
Yeah, I think this is probably the first job I've had where this conversation's been on the table, because if I think about other industries I've been in, that's never really an option. So I've learned that I can come to you and say, I don't really like doing this part so much anymore. Can you help me think creatively about how to not do that? Whereas before it was like, this is your job. There's no changing it. So I think it's just about changing your mindset and changing the mindset of how you run your business to be
that's
flexible.
Another reason why, you do work with me, right? Because I've never said, that's your job, do it.
No, there's creativity and ability to think outside the box there. Yeah.
All right. Okay, 3 down. Is that 3? Okay, we're going to interrupt this segment for a word from our sponsor.
Oh.
The sponsor is whiskey. No, you know what's funny? Last episode we drank some whiskey and we were open about it. And the only reason... Oh, goodness gracious. Jesse. I didn't want to bring my cell phone in either. And it was off, so how did that do that? Anyway, my point is that I love the show Mad Men, and I love that idea of them having just a decanter and glasses, and people walk in and they're doing business, and they just pour a finger of whiskey, and they're sitting there talking, and I was like, I want to create that ambiance in my office, so I've had a decanter filled with whiskey in it in my office for like 18 months. And
does whiskey ever get old?
No, it doesn't get old. And I've never used it in 18 months. I've never used it.
I think it's probably been more like 5 years.
It's not 5 years.
I think it's been a long time.
No. And so when we recorded that last episode, I'm like, hey, let's do this. Let's drink some whiskey. It's the end of the day. We had a hard day. This episode, I didn't even have to, suggest it. You're like, get the whiskey.
Oh, no, it's a habit. It's the feeling of the cup in my hand, it's like a habit now.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's like me wearing sunglasses?
Yeah.
All right.
I might have to bring in my shades next time.
Oh, I couldn't handle it.
No.
No.
It's not fair.
This is my thing.
Sorry, I'll get my thing.
Yeah. All right.
Is that the only announcement from our sponsor?
We interrupt this message for a word from our other sponsor. You know what we should? Do you want to make your announcement?
Yeah, I think I should.
Or do you want to wait till the end?
Let's wait till the end.
Up next, up soon, is a word from Margaret. But only after we answer a couple more questions. All right, Adam Coates asks, what type of activities should an assistant do if we run low on work?
I love this question.
Can I just say that if you have to ask this question, better not say it that way.
Yeah.
Here's what I would say. Make sure when you're hiring someone who doesn't ever ask you to ask this question.
Yeah, I have to say, I remember you said this about your last assistant, and I don't think you told me this for a little while, but you did ask me, though, about a month in, you were like, are you bored? Do you have enough to do? Or do you feel like do you need more information about what to do? And I remember saying, I have more than I can do. I have way more than I can do. And so part of that was I didn't know the real estate industry or business at all, right? I didn't know anything about Pickett Street, but I knew what my daily duties were that you had told me I needed to get done for, if I'm very specific about a listing or about a presentation or something like that. But as I was in the office more and I learned more about the business through the meetings that we had, I slowly began to piece together the different parts of the business, like marketing. What's being done in marketing right now? Not a whole lot outside of our usual like brochures and things like that. Okay, where could I add? I could probably start a Facebook account. Stuff like that. You start to fill in the pictures. So part of this is understanding that if someone's brand new, they might ask this question. And it's not necessarily a horrible thing. However, also, if they're a big picture thinker and they're motivated and driven, there is never nothing to do. There does need to be a vision laid out so that they understand where you're going. Because if you want to, for example, have eventually an expansion team in another state, then that would change how I operate. I would start operating like we're expanding to San Francisco, and I would start meeting people in San Francisco and making that part of on my duty list or whatever. So if they don't know where you're going or how much business you want to do, I could see them asking this question because they wouldn't know, like, maybe I don't need to build out the Facebook that much because we're not actually going to get that big. But if the vision's big or it's there, then they'll never ask you this question.
Yeah, I mean,
I always have something to do.
I've never had to, like, muddy your desk with paperwork to make you feel like you were doing something.
Which is great because I hate a dirty desktop. And my mom's does the same thing. I've learned this from her. People come by her desk and assume she has nothing to do because it's clean. No, we keep it clean because we're literally shifting our paperwork in piles that are hidden so that it looks good because that's how we operate best. Like it's part of our operating style. Absolutely. But in a small business like this, there is never nothing to do. If anything, you'd be running. I could be working 24/7. I could be.
Well,
I could absolutely
so let's break
be doing
this
that.
down because I do want to help Adam. What I would say is this: is that if you are low on sales, then there's tons of efficiency to build into your business.
Absolutely.
Like, hey, it's the week before Christmas. Not many people are listing their homes.
Nope.
Does that mean that we don't come into work?
Nope. Come into work every day.
And so and what do? We do business planning stuff.
Mm-hmm. We do business planning. We look at our current procedures manual. How can we improve it? We look at Dropbox. What can we do to clean it up now while we don't have people running in and out of our office? It's a great time to move files.
We have to modify a listing presentation for next year.
Yep. We can put together new marketing pieces. We can put together the next client event. I mean, the list goes freaking on. So it's such a fantastic time when there's less. I mean, I always want more sales, right? We always want more sales. But in the moments when there aren't sales as much, like this, there's plenty to do. I love this time because I get to this is when I get to invest in the planning, which helps me produce and execute.
Yeah, our business can be very transactional, and transactions can keep you from building the business.
Yeah,
so
all the time it does.
If you know there's a seasonality to your business, then look at the calendar in advance and plan events and or focus time for developing new segments of your business. Like the procedure manual doesn't build itself.
No.
You have to build it.
Hours upon hours.
And so for me, I'm going to be spending this time doing continuing education because my birthday's coming up. I am focused on, even when I did a listing presentation today, and as I did it, I'm like thinking about what's working and what's not working, which I haven't done for a long time on that presentation because I had it honed really well. But now I'm to the point again where it's like, hey, how much of this stuff, I've been an agent for 13 years.
Yeah.
The things I talked about in 2005 don't work in 2018.
Yep.
There wasn't an iPhone in 2005, I don't think. So like everything changes and things change so quickly. Yeah. We have to know what the consumer is paying attention to and listening to and make sure that we're adapting with them. So I think that this question is interesting because if you're low on work, and I don't know what low on work means, I guess.
I think it means low on sales.
Low on sales is one thing.
Yeah.
But low on work, I don't understand.
There's never low on. I think he means low in sales. Yeah.
But I think people in general say low on work.
Yeah.
But I'm just being exacting and saying, hey, if you're low on sales, there's other segments of your business.
Totally.
And double down on sales and then, but I don't know that, there's never a time I have to come, I should have to come in and be like, you guys need something to do.
If I were someone like Adam or someone in like many of these assistants that have, or team leaders that have just one person on their team, like just the admin, I would use this time to send my admin out of state and to go shadow someone.
Yeah.
I would. That's like one of the things it's one of the things I would suggest. Get out of your circle.
All right.
Good one.
Who's going to pick up all this paper?
Me.
No. All right, and for our last question of Christmas, it comes from out of state.
Oh.
Is this our first out of state question for the day?
Irrefutably. Our first out of state. Yes, it is. It's Brett Shagrew from Denver, Colorado.
Are you sure he's going to be okay with irrefutably and not just refutably?
No, I don't think he's okay with either. I don't think he's good with either.
Oh, one last thing before I meant to say this about that last question.
Yeah.
I was conditioned to never act like I was bored, appear bored as a child.
Oh, yeah.
If I ever looked bored, my dad would give me something to do.
Yeah.
And it'd be like muck the corrals. Like I'd have to go pick up horse dung in the corrals. And in the summer, it'd be 95 degrees out. It's dusty. There's flies everywhere. It's the worst job ever. And so I learned very quickly that the appearance of looking unbusy meant that it was fair game for me to be assigned something to do. And so I'm not saying that to say anything other than I hate employees that look busy, that think that I don't know they're not doing something when they're not doing anything. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying I did develop the mindset where I was always had to be conscientious of what needed to be done so that I could do my favorite aspects of those things rather than having the worst aspects be assigned to me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry, Brett. Took the limelight off you for a second. All right, back to Brett.
Back to Brett.
Modern forms of communicating for business that have replaced the phone.
Brett is the tech guru now for KW Maps, so
guru.
He's kind of a big
I think
deal.
that word is thrown around a little too loosely.
It is, but it's so fun to say, guru, operations guru. But Brett and I send text message videos back and forth when we communicate rather than just texting, which I love. But
this might be where I show up like an ornery Montanans, like these kids and their newfangled technology.
So modern forms of communicating for business that have replaced the phone. Interesting.
Well, I think he means the telephone, like talking, right?
Just talking over the phone. I mean, specifically, my first big one is video. Because we talk a lot about sending video, not just through text message, but through Snapchat, through Facebook Messenger, through Boomtown.
All right,
because so many agents are coming to Brett that are like, how do I do this? How do I send a video? It's because they're realizing Brett can convert. He was doing some lead gen a couple weeks ago, and he told me he converted and got like 3 appointments in a matter of just a couple hours by sending a video. I mean, in video, it's just you're able to show your face, show your emotions, get a connection much better than over the phone. Bring it.
No thanks. I don't want to FaceTime.
Yeah, I know. That's a problem.
Like, I was watching one of these housewife shows with my fiance, and I was screaming at the TV because these women were FaceTiming each other.
Yeah.
You know? Like, they're doing their makeup, they're getting ready for the day, and they're FaceTiming each other. Yeah. And I'm like, this isn't normal. This isn't real life. They're doing this for TV. And maybe it's not true. I mean, maybe they are. Do you FaceTime people?
I do.
A lot?
Do. I mean, you know me, I don't like the phone a whole lot, and the phone to me is the phone or FaceTime. But now, because my friends have kids, they FaceTime me so I can see their kids. And I'll FaceTime my parents just because it's hysterical to watch my mom pick up the phone and FaceTime me. She doesn't know what she's doing yet. But FaceTime and Snapchat, because we're wanting to see the face.
Well,
more
let's
than
not confuse the issue here. I'm talking about
it's
FaceTime.
But it's visual. It's all
visual. But it's
visual.
different. No, we're going to get there.
It's different.
But FaceTime, I'm against it.
That's okay. You don't have to use it if you don't want to.
If someone calls me on FaceTime, I'm dismissing that. I'm not answering that.
Yeah. I would be curious because you are the rainmaker and you can make it rain when you want to. I would be curious to see what would happen if you sent like messages, face messages, little videos through text. I'd be curious to see.
Face messages? Here's a message from my face.
That's the first thing that came to mind. But if you sent them a follow-up video, I wonder...
Hey, following up on that phone call we just had. Here's my face.
I think it's an interesting idea. I really do. I think it's the way we're all going. And from what people that I've been following on social media, eventually Facebook's going to get to the point where when you log in, it goes straight to Facebook stories. It's going to be all video all the time, hardly any feed. Same with Instagram. It's all moving to the stories. People are not paying attention to the feed as much as they are the stories. It's getting very video-centric.
Yes, that is true. But, I mean, we're going to communicate via Insta stories to clients?
Yeah, I mean, we are right now. That's what I'm doing.
Really?
Not to specific clients. But...
Dear Joe Blow.
Joe Blow.
I'm just thinking about you today. So I get ready, put on my makeup.
Yeah.
And just hope you're doing well.
I mean, you see me on Instagram stories. I'm not talking to specific clients, but I'm absolutely talking to our clientele, which some of are on Instagram. They found us on Instagram.
And listen, I'm not a curmudgeon about social media. I love Instagram. I like Snapchat.
Yeah, no, you're specifically just not into FaceTime.
It's awkward.
What about Snapchat?
You know I like Snapchat, but I've noticed a pattern with you.
Which is?
Well, you only message now in Snapchat.
Oh, really?
Which is weird to me. Like, I don't get a text message from you anymore, ever.
Oh.
It's always in Snapchat.
What? I just texted you the other day.
Because I did. Because I haven't given up on text messaging. So apparently you have. And now I'm having to transition my communication with you over to Snapchat, which is okay. But here's the other problem I have with Snapchat. When you communicate with me on Snapchat, I know you love the video messages, but I can't always listen to them.
I know.
So then I get them, and I see it's a video one, and I'm like, well,
that's
shit,
why
I have to wait
that's why I started texting
2 hours now to listen to this.
Well,
and then if I try to listen to it, and it's something loud, and I don't know what's happening, and I have to mute it, and then I have to try to go back and reload it, and if I don't, so now I have to go, I don't know what the F you just said. Just,
That's amazing. I only send you stuff in there that you can listen to at any time.
I swear you just do it just to mess with me. I swear you just say things and you don't even turn the sound on and you're just moving your lips. And then I have to go, what's happening? I didn't hear you. And you're just like, oh, don't worry about it. I figured it out.
Oh my God, too funny.
But yeah, you've gone to Snapchat.
Yeah.
Which is funny because I'm a Snapchat fan and I'm having to get pulled out of it into Instagram stories. And I noticed that I love Snapchat. I like it.
Yeah.
I just liked it from the beginning. And I just didn't survive. Mm-hmm. Like, Instagram started doing stories, and now everyone's on that. Yeah. And so I do reach a broader audience with Instagram. Yeah. So now Snapchat has become a utility tool for me for only communicating with very specific people.
I agree. Me too. Yeah. I don't do the general Snapchat I do. I know I'm reaching the people that are following me, but it's not like Instagram. If Snapchat I'm using as a tool, you're totally, that's a bit great example. Are there any other modern forms of communication that you can think of that replace the phone besides
Well, there's lots of them. But I don't know about replacing the phone. I mean, I will say this, and I hope everyone's intentional about this, but we ask our clients how they prefer to be communicated with.
Oh, yeah.
I hate voicemail with a passion. Mm-hmm. I never want to hear it. Mm-hmm. Figure it out, okay? I'm not available to pick up your call, so text me. Mm-hmm. Don't leave me something, that I have to listen to at a later date.
My parents would be the kind that would love a voicemail rather than a text because then they can listen to it over and over just in case they want to. They're still of the baby boomer age where voicemail and, they like the phone.
They like the phone.
Mm-hmm. Although my mom's become a texter, and then my dad takes her phone and looks at all of her text messages after she's asleep.
Okay, creepy. Andy.
Because he doesn't have a phone like that yet, so we really need to get him hooked up.
He doesn't have a phone like that yet? So
no, he's got a little flip phone that he turns off. And
he lives vicariously through your mom's
He does.
text
and
messages.
Then my brother Matt said he was getting responses from mom that didn't sound like her. And so he finally was like, Dad, is this you? Yeah, Dad, the secret text messenger.
I can see your dad as, because he's kind of a conspiracy theorist. He doesn't own a smartphone because he doesn't want the big brother to watch what he's saying.
Totally.
He's like, this isn't Andy, this is Mary. Cute dress. Other than...
Oh, God. Oh, I just thought
phone.
of something. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I'll tell you after the podcast. Secret part 2.
Well, I mean, the phone is pretty important. But let's just use, instead of phone, we'll just say telephone conversation, which I don't like. I would much prefer to text message somebody. Mm-hmm. But I am annoyed. I don't like Facebook Messenger. Isn't it funny? We're very... we know very much what we like and don't like, right? Among these various forms of communication.
Yep.
Where half the given world would just die for one of these tools. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
We're like so uppity that we're like particular about how you communicate with me.
Right, no.
And I'm the worst at it.
I'll communicate through anything. I Facebook message all day, long and with different admin from all over, because that's the best way to connect with someone who I don't have their contact information for. Or I'll have people message us on Instagram through the Pickett Street account or my personal account asking about us.
Yeah, other than that, I'd say mine right now are... My top 3 would be iMessage, and then Snapchat, and then... Jeez.
What about Marco Polo? I just got introduced to that.
No, I'm not doing this.
It's really hard. Jen Grawl got me into it, and so did Lene Thornton. They were both like, get on Marco Polo. And so I said, fine, okay, I'll do it. It's like a long conversation that you can rewatch at any point. The only thing I like about it is that with Snapchat, you get cut off after 5 times it goes around for recording purposes. With Marco Polo, you can go as long as you want.
What do you mean? This is new information.
I mean, you just start the recording, and it goes, and you could talk for 20 minutes.
Oh, so on Snapchat, it does it for 5 seconds?
Yeah, you haven't figured this out yet because you haven't gone for that long. But
you know what? I think there's something to be said for brevity. I think it's amazing that I've never learned this or knew of this because you know why? Because I am simplistic in my messages.
That's true.
You can go on and I'm like, oh, here's 10 video messages from Margaret. I have to excuse myself from the room. Sorry,
Which is why I message you in Snapchat because I know you're not going to watch it at certain times. Like I didn't send you one last night because I knew you were in the concert. Duh. So then I just messaged you.
Yeah, by the way, got a FaceTime call at the concert.
That's the best.
At the concert, from someone at the concert.
You should just answer it and be like, here I am, right here with you. Like, seriously.
I did for a second, but that was more a factor of sobriety than anything.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we totally killed that one.
I hope so.
I have no idea what we said other than we like Snapchat and I hate FaceTime. I want to know, did you hear from anyone that looked up ASMR from our last episode?
Yes, I did. Yes, I think I had 3 people that said, wow, I had never heard of this before. And then I had one girl in our office, Sam, who works our front desk, who ends up knowing stuff about stuff that you just wouldn't expect. And she absolutely knew ASMR. Yeah, that was hysterical.
Maybe we'll get sponsored by a whiskey company.
That's a good idea.
Brought to you by Woodinville Whiskey.
Yes.
Right?
We should ask Ben Sinner about that. Oh my gosh.
Ben Sinner.
I feel like you'd have a connection to a whiskey company.
You can't just keep floating names out here like everyone knows what you're talking about.
Well, come on, you guys. Pick it up. Ben Sinner, wine guru.
He's not a wine guru.
No? I consider him to be.
Only he's very smart.
Yeah.
But he sells vineyards. He's a vineyard guru.
Vineyard guru.
Which you seem to be obsessed with the word guru.
I am just in this moment right here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If you were a guru, what kind of guru would you be?
I am one. I'm an operations guru.
Operations guru. You are.
Yeah.
I've actually seen that written down. Mm-hmm. Is that on your card or anything?
It's my Instagram.
Operations guru. Mm-hmm. Mine is meme poet. Did you know that?
I think I have seen that at one point, yes.
I don't actually write memes. I just thought it was funny if I said I was a meme poet.
You love memes.
But now it's actually probably a thing. Like, I did it a long time ago. But now there actually are meme poets.
Yeah.
Like, there are people that make money just writing memes.
Oh, my gosh.
There's a great documentary, by the way, that I'd recommend people watching. Now I'm not going to remember what it's called. American Meme.
You told me about that, and I know somebody else watched it recently or thought it was good.
Oh, it was interesting because they kind of track this influencer industry back to the beginning. And kind of the origin story was Paris Hilton and how she
that's super
famous for not working, just being her.
Yeah.
And Kim Kardashian was her intern, right? And
such an interesting connection. That makes so much sense.
But you get a very honest and open interview with Paris, who's deeply traumatized by some of the events in her life. And at the same time is very successful in her own right, has matured a lot, and you get a very open and honest response to her about her life and about the influencer movement and about paying attention to likes and posts and comments and mentions and how that validates or invalidates you as a person. And then you have other influencers on there that have crazy lifestyles that you wouldn't ever imagine, and they're lonely and empty, and there's it was interesting. I'm not saying it's a wholesome documentary. It might leave you feeling a little...
I definitely want to watch it.
But it is interesting to me because everything is so new that it could all be old again soon.
Yeah.
And I just think I'm curious what the lifespan of some of these things are. Because a lot of these influencers were born on Vine.
Yep.
Vine's gone. And now they're saying, this job as an influencer may be over, may be extinct in the next 5 years.
So interesting.
And we're just evolving so quickly.
Don't you think influencers, though, if we look outside the current title, because I know what you mean, current influencers are, especially on Instagram, it's a popular thing to call yourself an influencer. But influencers have been around forever. It's just people who have an impact and, basically a group of people look to them for help with making decisions and things.
Yeah, but in this case, influencer is used to describe somebody that you may not be able to describe otherwise. Meaning, they're not a TV producer. They're not a movie producer. They're producing these weird, short, ready-to-eat segments on a regular basis for the purpose of generating likes and mentions and comments in the hopes of generating advertising. I mean, what it is really is everyone's becoming a small media company.
Yeah.
And to the point where Google and Facebook are bigger media companies than NBC and ABC, right? And maybe that changes to where Margaret Smith is a bigger media company than Google. That's audacious to say. But it would have been just as audacious to say that MySpace was going to overcome NBC, which is essentially what, not MySpace specifically, but over time, that industry evolved to become much bigger than these monoliths of old. And that's a lesson for us. I often think about our lack of ability to adapt seals our fate.
Yeah.
Sears is gone.
My uncle's still working in the one that's left near Boston. Somehow. They're still open. I don't know how.
Right, and that's the thing. They were humongous.
They were huge.
They were the biggest retailer in the world.
I remember going there growing up to buy our appliances. That's where we went, always. For beds, appliances, all sorts of things, and it's gone. Yeah.
Right, so they're a catalog company that moved into the retail space. They were a mail-to-order company that moved into the retail space that was killed by a mail-order company called Amazon.
Yeah.
And it's just our lack of ability to adapt that really determines if we survive or not. And things are changing so quickly that it's hard to know what the right move is sometimes.
I know another shop locally that's closing down for that exact same reason. They can't compete anymore. People are coming in, asking them questions about the products, going online to Amazon, ordering them, rather than after taking the time from the employee of a half an hour to an hour, asking them all about the product. They're going online to save the $20 to $30 they can save. So.
Well, and now what's happening is people aren't even doing the research on their own. They're just letting influencers tell them what to order.
Yeah, or the Mavericks. Right.
There you go, throwing words around again. What Mavericks?
Remember that book we read? The Maven.
Mavens are different than Mavericks.
I forget.
Maverick is in Top Gun.
No, oh yeah.
He requests flybys.
That book that we read that talked about the information.
I love it when you validate everything I ever say about you and how it's so hard to communicate with you sometimes.
There you go.
Where you just throw in
Live
Maverick from
on the podcast
nowhere,
right here.
and I have to go, what?
I just figure you can pick it up.
Maven?
Is it Maven? That information gatherer? Basically the person you go to when you need to get information?
Yeah, that's a Maven.
Yeah.
Yeah, what book is that? That's from,
I forget what the book is.
Is it Outliers?
No, it talks about the different kinds of people that...
Yeah, I think it's...
Yeah.
Anyway. Huh. Yeah, Mavens can be the ones that push you in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. I have a couple Mavens
or Mavericks.
in my life.
Mavericks.
When I needed to buy my washer dryer and I did not want to spend time researching it, I called up Jillian Farrar because she is a researcher. You wouldn't think she is really because she's so outgoing and so many extroverts. I feel like you don't really think about what they do behind the scenes. But Jillian researches the heck out of it, and I knew she had the best washer dryer. I bought the exact same one twice, and I love it. It's so pretty, and it dings a pretty bell.
The experience was so great the first time.
Jillian is my Maven.
I'm your Maverick.
Okay.
You have an announcement to make.
Yes, and I just can't wait till we have that whiskey sponsor. It's going to be really exciting.
Yes.
So my announcement, yes, it's in regards to the Pacific Northwest Operations Retreat.
Margaret, what is the Pacific Northwest Admin Retreat?
Well, thank you for asking, Jesse. It is an annual retreat. This is going to be the third year we put it on, and it's a retreat for admin and operations gurus from all over the country. And it's a 30-person retreat. It's pretty small. And we bring in speakers, and we have 3 days together to mastermind, brainstorm, bond, build a community, and learn new things. So it's coming up April 4th through the 7th.
And just so I can understand the caliber of speaker at such an event like this, who are some past speakers you've had?
Great question. So the first year we had Susan Scott.
Susan Scott!
Author of Fierce Conversations. And we had Elise Enriquez, who is a life and business coach. And that was our first year. Second year, we had Monique Hellstrom, who is
Monique?
Chief of Simon Sinek.
Oh, Simon Sinek's admin.
Mm-hmm. That was massive. We had her. We also had Jim Sorensen, who's the Director of Program Development at Fierce Incorporated with Susan. He was a referral from Susan. He was fantastic. And then we also had Stacey Adams, who's now the VP of Programming at ABC.
Yeah, and so she was a showrunner.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think she also walked away with some show ideas, to be honest. There might be a TV show coming out soon about a girl named Margaret with a friend named Jared. Just saying.
Oh, yeah?
That was a really hot show that came out of that.
How did Jared get involved in that?
Because everybody knows, everybody sees my social media about Jared, and when I go get my haircut and when I talk about him, everyone loves Jared. Everyone wants a piece of Jared.
Okay, this is something I'm working on with Margaret, where, again, our podcast audience doesn't know everybody in your life.
Okay, so Jared Burton, he is a hairdresser, hairstylist at Headlines in University Village near downtown Seattle, Washington. If you're in Seattle or you come and you want to visit and you need a haircut, you need your hair colored, call Headlines and ask for Jared Burton. He is a pro at all things hair. He actually has won awards from Bubble and Bubble for his coloring skills. So he's an artist. Met him probably 8 years ago now. And he is my dedicated hairstylist and now friend. I was one of the first people that he agreed to go out to dinner with outside of cutting my hair, because the whole deal was you don't hang out with your clients. And so
you can be a little stalkerish.
I can. I went after it.
You're a little obsessive.
Absolutely. So finally he said
and you're
yes.
6 feet tall.
Yeah. Well, he matches me in height, so it's pretty similar.
Yeah, I bet you're imposing.
I'm super imposing. So yeah, I finally got him to go to dinner with me, and we became fast friends.
And you're telling me because of his
personality,
relationship with you on social media, that she is now aware of this.
Well, not because of that. It's because the girls that came to the retreat had to come up with a show idea. There were 5 groups. One of them came up with a show about me and Jared.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it was hysterical. Anyhow, Stacey Adams was phenomenal. It was a fantastic group. We met in Cleon last year at a house that I rented through VRBO. And so this next year is coming up, And it's going to, each year I'm like, I don't know how I can do it again. I don't know how I can do it. And then it comes together.
So I just have to think, okay, so let me pretend I'm Margaret for a second.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, how do I outdo, I've had Susan Scott, author of Fierce Conversations. Mm-hmm. I've had Monique Hellstrom, who is the admin to Simon Sinek.
Yeah.
Like, where do I go from here?
I know.
I mean, I might, like, let's throw out some names. Like, let me think. Who's like a get that's humongous that people would be, like, in awe that you landed? And the first name I think of is Gary Vaynerchuk.
That's a really good guess.
So I would think, man, what if Margaret got Gary Vaynerchuk's assistant for the Pacific Northwest Admin Retreat?
Yeah.
That'd be
pretty freaking huge.
Amazing. Mm-hmm. How is Tyler doing?
I actually haven't spoken to Tyler yet, but he's doing really well. And he'll be coming on April 5th to speak to us.
Crazy.
Yeah. We're super excited.
I know a little bit about Gary Vaynerchuk. Mm-hmm.
You introduced me to him.
I was the original fanboy when it comes to this office, for sure.
Yeah.
He follows me on Twitter.
Does he really?
Whatever. Yes, you know this.
Are you kidding me?
Yes.
No, I didn't know that he followed you. I knew that he acknowledged some of your tweets.
Well, he followed me. I don't tweet much anymore, so, But we've had some interaction, and...
oh, my gosh.
And he signed 120 books for us that we sent to our clients. Mm-hmm. So we've had some engagement with him.
Yep.
And I've heard that he schedules his day in 5-minute increments.
Oh,
can you imagine scheduling my day in 5-minute increments?
No, I'd pull out my hair. That's why I'm really curious to ask Tyler.
I'm super curious about Gary Vaynerchuk, in case you don't know, you've been living under a rock somewhere.
And some people don't know Simon Sinek either, which surprises me.
But Gary Vaynerchuk, he has a social media ad agency called VaynerMedia, and other businesses beyond that. Mm-hmm. But VaynerMedia is over 500 employees, is a rising star. He wants to own the New York Jets at some point. Mm-hmm. He will, because I believe him. Mm-hmm. And there's not very many people like Gary.
No.
And I can't imagine he suffers a lot of fools. Mm-hmm. So if you work alongside him, man, you've been tried and tested, and you have come out on the other end appearing worthy. Mm-hmm. So I'm really excited to see what Tyler has to say. And
it's going to be super interesting.
And I hope that Rainmakers listening to this, I hope you understand what a game changer this could be if you sent your admin to this.
I don't know that they do. So maybe by hearing you talk about it here on the podcast, it'll make a difference. Because
so let's put it this way. We go from a question like Adam asked us, what do you do if they don't have enough work to do, to, hey, and they're going to learn how to schedule your calendar in 5-minute increments to make sure you're as productive as possible.
That's a really great example. Yeah, if you don't see the huge difference between those two questions.
There's a little bit of a disparity.
Just a little bit.
And so if you want to change the thinking of your admin or change, the scope of their work, man alive, hearing from Gary Vaynerchuk's assistant might blow
Might do that, just
mind.
that. Yeah. And not to mention, whenever I talk to Rainmakers, because I tell their admin, have them call me. If they're curious about what you're going to get from this or if they're nervous about it, have them call me and you'll be signed up by the time the phone call's done. Because it's not just about the speakers that we're bringing in, because we could bring in no speakers. We could just have us. It could just be us. And they say it's the 5 people around you that influence you the most. Well, if you want to step up your game and as an admin and get involved in the community and actually do something to better yourself, start putting yourself around higher caliber admin, which are outside the state of Washington. A lot of them.
The other thing I want to point out, and this is what I love about you, is that you are so intentional that you're like, how can I get in? How can I be in relationship with these people?
Yeah.
How can I have their phone number and their email?
I have Monique Hellstrom's phone number in my cell phone.
Not only that.
And she's invited us to call her at any time.
Didn't she invite everyone went to the
entire
admin retreat?
Group has access to her.
Access to Monique Hellstrom?
Yep.
They have access to the chief of Simon?
And she told us, I don't like email and I don't prefer text messages. So if you want to talk to me, you need to call me. Game up and call me. Because so often we'll send emails because it's non-confrontational, or like we don't like feel like we could get up the guts. So believe me, the first time I called Monique after she left, I took about 5 minutes in the garage, just sitting in the garage of the parking lot of this mall I was at before I finally called her. And she was like running around running errands, and we chatted for 10 minutes, and it was awesome. So that kind of access, it's worth no amount of money. You can't put a number on it.
And that's not even the biggest speaker you have on deck probably for this year.
No.
Like we have more announcements to make. We have more plans to make. We have more things to finalize.
Yeah.
And so
I can give one other name.
You can?
As a little teaser. Yeah.
Should we?
Well, maybe not. Maybe we should release one per podcast.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I'm excited enough about Tyler, hands down. Like just that example that you gave it's totally going to up our game. And the cool thing about this too is that VaynerMedia just started Vayner Speakers. And so the guy that I talked to, Zach, has only been in his job for 3 weeks. So we are going to be the first official speaking engagement that Tyler has. So we're catching him at the beginning of what I know is going to be along.
That's something I kind of love about what you're doing with the PNW admin retreat is that, you go after someone like Gary. I have to think that's a $50,000 to $100,000 speaking fee, right? But how much you can learn so much from Tyler, who's no one's heard from, but who has to facilitate the life of Gary.
Yep. It's kind of like how someone could think about learning about Pickett Street through me if they couldn't get access to you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's brilliant, and I think they have something to say, and the fact that we're giving them a forum to speak from is very honoring, and fosters. In this community you're building, man, it just fosters a sentiment that I don't think is easily duplicatable.
Yeah.
So how many tickets are available to this thing?
28.
28 hot seats.
They're going to go really fast.
Yeah.
I'm super excited about it.
Do we have a firm pricing schedule? Do we want to talk about it?
Yeah, I think we can. Yeah, it's going to be released before this podcast comes out. So it's going to be $1,250 per person.
$1,250 per person.
$1,250 per person. And let's talk about what that covers.
Let's talk about it. How many days does that cover?
It's Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, if you choose to stay the Saturday night, which I highly recommend people do.
Lodging's included.
Yep.
Food is included.
By a caterer. Like nice, good food.
Entertainment is provided. Not just the speakers, but you'll have networking games.
Oh, yeah.
Icebreakers.
There's an agenda. We are going from basically 7 in the morning till, if you stay up talking, 11 or midnight each night.
Yeah, and so I know we're going to be talking about this like every week for the next few months, but what I want people to understand is that Margaret is relentless. So
that was my word for the year.
It was? Well, you did it. Because when I think about what you're doing for this, you have some sort of perk at every part of the day.
Yeah.
So you have a yoga instructor coming to teach yoga.
That's what I was going to talk about. Yeah.
You have a spiritualist who's going to come talk.
She's an intuitionist.
You have all these people that are just add-ons.
Yeah.
They're just the sprinkles on top of this sundae that you've made.
Yeah.
That just the sprinkles are great.
No, the sprinkles alone. Yeah. It's going to be... I mean, this year's... I know when I'm ready for, like, when the right things are in place because I can start to envision what it looks like in my head, and I see it really clear. I don't see everything that's going to happen, obviously, but I see how it's going to work, and I can't wait for it to come.
And it's going to be April
4th through the 7th.
April 4th through the 7th.
And can we tell them what else we put in the contract with the speakers?
Yes.
The speakers are all going to do a podcast with us. That's like such a huge bonus. Are you kidding me?
So we're going to be doing a podcast episode with Tyler.
Oh, yeah.
Gary Vaynerchuk's assistant.
Yeah.
And we're going to be doing podcast episodes with crazy great speakers and spiritualists and yoga instructors. And I tell you what, I'm excited.
I tell you what.
I tell you what.
Wait.
Darn tootin'.
Oh, yeah, it just gets me sweating right now. I'm so excited.
I'm glad this isn't on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's very exciting,
Jacked.
Margaret. I'm jacked for you.
Thanks.
And she's a little bit like an unbridled horse right now.
What?
Like if you were a horse that took a bit in its mouth, which is in Montana what that means.
Oh my God.
Is if a horse can they can swing the bridle up into their mouth where you can't pull it out, and they just run away with you. They just go, and then you can't steer them, can't do anything. That's kind of what Margaret is. I'm yelling at her over the wind and everything else, saying, "Hey, did you think about this? Whoa, slow down. Did you consider this canyon in front of us?" And you're like, whatever.
That's so true. Yeah. Side note, people are getting to know you, by the way, through this podcast, through all of your commentary, and they're really digging it. If you guys have any other feedback
Is this
for
the
Jesse,
validation portion of the
podcast?
This
is where the validation comes in. Because people just haven't had the chance to experience you yet. And I've had countless people tell me, like, I didn't realize how funny Jesse is, or I didn't know that he grew up in Montana.
I feel like they haven't even gotten
and I think it's because
accurate picture of me yet.
Probably not. Like, a lot of the Rainmakers know you from Gary Keller's Top 100 and different conferences and things like that, but not the admin. The admin haven't heard you speak.
Even the Rainmakers, when I get to know them individually over a long period of time, even they don't know. Like, they say, like, Sarita Dua, who I love out of Portland.
Yeah.
She came up to me one time. We developed a friendship.
She seems really cool.
And she just said to me one time, she goes, "Jesse, I'm just so honored that you're friends with me." And I was like, what? Sarita's like amazing. Right? She's on the cover of Outfront magazine.
Oh, yeah.
She's on everything.
Yeah.
She's on the panel every year with Gary, it seems like.
She has amazing
and I'm like,
business.
Sarita, you're welcome. First off, you're welcome. Second off, what are you talking about? And she goes, "No, I can see you as a person. Like, I've watched you for years, and I can see that it's not easy to get close to you, but when you get close, like, you're in."
Wow.
And I was like, that's very insightful.
That is very insightful.
Huh. Just like I went on a listing appointment today.
Oh my gosh, this is great.
Yeah. The lady goes, you are meant for me." And I'm like, "Pardon?" And she goes, "I just knew it when I took the call, the intuition. I never take these calls. I never set these appointments. You were meant for me."
Seriously, right now, intuition is all I'm focused on. Like, between my vision board and what's happening there and that comment and all these things.
Your affirmation.
Yes.
Abundance affirmation.
Yes.
Intuition's a big deal.
It is.
Is that your word for 2019?
I think it's going to be intuition and intention.
Intention again?
Well, last year was relentless.
Oh, relentless.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I like intention. I think that's my word too.
Mm-hmm.
Can we?
We can share it. Absolutely. I'm not a hogger.
Can I ride side saddle to your word of the year?
How about a sidecar?
Sidecar?
Yeah.
I wouldn't fit in a sidecar. It'd be the funniest thing ever.
Wow, so Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
5 gifts of Christmas, plus an extra special bow on top.
Next week, I'm just gonna, you know what, I'm just gonna say it, because if I speak it, it'll be true, right?
Oh, yeah.
I think next week we might have the delightful Mary Smith on the podcast.
We just might.
And I want you to understand, this is not some sort of like, we ran out of ideas. And
no.
we're gonna have Margaret's
We're super purposeful
mom
every week.
On.
Yeah.
Margaret's mom is amazing. In my viewpoint, on so many different levels. And she's been an assistant for her entire career.
Her boss wants to come on with her, just FYI.
And he's not allowed to. So, Flo, knock it off. Okay? Don't stop trying to hog her limelight.
Yeah.
What a typical Rainmaker thing to do. But anyone that knows Mary Smith, if you could please text her.
Yes, good idea.
Or
Call to
snap her
action. Yeah.
and say how
Say
much she'd like to hear her on our podcast.
She does need that encouragement. She were probably going to call that the 7 Degrees of Mary Smith or something.
But I promise you, it'll be a fun episode and very...
It'll be insightful.
Insightful.
Yeah, she needs some encouragement, though, to do it. So, yeah.
Merry Christmas, Mo.
Merry Christmas.
Feliz Navidad.
Catch you guys next time.